Hello friends, I'm Nilesh Bhattad, founder and CEO of CleanCarbon.ai. So friends, you know climate change is for real. It is impacting entire world, the economies and trade as well. And in all these complexities, a new challenge has emerged, which is CBAM. A lot of people are asking me, what is CBAM, how it is impacting my business. So here we are making an attempt to help you to understand what CBAM is and how it is impacting you and what are the things that you should be able to take care of with help of CBAM reporting. So friends, CBAM stands for Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. So it's a policy framework which has been introduced by European Union and it is for the sectors, specific sectors which are iron and steel, aluminium, energy, we have cement, fertilizers, hydrogen. So if any company which is exporting in this 6 sectors, this CBAM or Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism is applicable, and it is nothing but measuring your carbon emission in your production process and reporting them. So it is as simple as that. Well, now you might ask why CBAM was introduced and what was the need of it. So if you see, there was a system in Europe called as EU ETS, where companies were taxed based on how much carbon emissions that they are doing. And because of that, the production in Europe became costlier, because apart from the production cost, this is additional tax that these companies had to bear. Okay, so that's why this company started producing outside Europe, and it introduced a concept called as carbon leakage. What does that carbon leakage means? That companies will produce their products outside Europe, will emit the carbon outside Europe, and will bring those products in Europe. I have created a challenge, and to address this challenge, CBAM was introduced to have a level playing field for all the companies across the world. If they are into these 6 sectors and if they are producing anywhere in the world, there will be equal carbon tax that they have to pay irrespective of their geography of production. If we want to understand what is the core objective of CBAM, it is basically reduce the carbon emission which is happening across the world, and in turn reduce the global warming effect and achieve net zero in maybe next 20, 30, 50 years. So every country, every economy is trying to produce sustainable products, sustainable solutions, and the core objective of CBAM is to make sure that overall global carbon emissions are reduced to the acceptable levels. Now, if we get into more deeper and understand what are the emissions that we need to calculate. So there are 2 types of emissions. One is direct emissions and other is indirect emissions. So when we say direct emission, it is the emission which is happening in your production process, and for calculation of direct emissions, your raw material, your electricity, your scrap, all those data points are required. And to understand indirect emissions, it is the emission which is happened outside of your boundary or outside of your factory for the raw material or the precursors, they call it in that language, the emissions which are done to produce that precursors in the factories of your suppliers is called as indirect emissions. And the sum of this direct emissions and indirect emissions will give you the specific embedded emissions, which is the total emission which we need to calculate and report. When we talk about CBAM, we need to understand the key timelines. It started in October 23, and from October 23 to December 25 is called as a transition phase. This phase was given for all the companies across the world to understand the guidelines, start their reporting, and measure their emissions every quarter. And from January 26 onwards, it is called as a definitive phase, and in definitive phase, your tax calculation will start, and all the emissions that you do above benchmark, you will be taxed as per the prevalent carbon rates at that